Gasper, how do you feel about Charlie McAvoy at this hour?
Yeah, I've said this to you before, and I said this before the playoffs. I don't think he's who the Bruins think he is. And this is just not an opinion that I formulated recently based on this series. I think they look at him and say, this guy is a foundational, bona fide Norris Trophy type of defenseman. And that's just not what I see. And that's just not what I've seen from him throughout the course of his career. He is now up to 24 consecutive games in the playoffs without a goal. He has one goal in his last 41 playoff games, which would be fine if he were a shutdown defenseman. But he's not a shutdown defenseman. He's a defenseman who put one in his own net, essentially, last night. And also the icing that led to that goal was on him. So I'm not here to tell you Charlie McAvoy stinks. That's not true. He's good. He's a good player. But I don't think he's very good, and I don't think he's great. And I think ultimately that's the issue for the Bruins, that there's too many guys that maybe the front office looks at and thinks are very good to great, and maybe they can reach that level with some very good coaching, which the Bruins have had now 3 coaches in a row in the regular season. But in the playoffs, water finds its level, and that level is not elite for Charlie McAvoy and too many of his brethren on the Boston Bruins.
Chris, is there any chance that they know what he is and he's not what they want him to be? You follow me?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yes, I do follow you, Mazz. I do follow you. And maybe you look at that and you say that's why they go out and get, a Hampus Lindholm, and that's why they're so high on Lori. Maybe there's an element of that there. But I just think that when you look at it and you look at his play, like for me, just to be honest about it, and I'm, picking on him a little bit, but overall, when I look at the team, this collapse in progress is on the players. And I just cannot stand to see them scapegoat another coach, because to me, that's not the issue. That's not the issue with the team. I don't think coaching is why this is coaching is not why mild-mannered milquetoast analyst like Ray Ferraro is saying to you in Game 5 that your team looks so nervous it can't complete a 5-foot pass. That's on the coaching? I mean, I just don't think, and to me, McAvoy is sort of emblematic of the inability to reach the level that needs to be reached when it matters most. And I guess I am picking on him a little bit, but there's other guys to be picked on. Zacha, Coyle. There are other guys that you can look at and say, where are these guys once again in the playoffs when it matters most?
You think it's about the makeup of the team or the overall quality of the team, correct?
Both. I think it's both the makeup from the standpoint of an MLB pitcher, which is mental, and the overall quality of the team. I think if you were in a situation where you want to scapegoat Jim Montgomery at this point, you are basically punishing him for his own success, for you handing him teams that are not as good as he's made them look in the regular season. The last couple of years, he's gotten more out of those rosters than really he should have. And then you get to the postseason, and again, water finds its level. Guys on the roster don't perform the way that they did during the regular season, because the playoff series is different. You're playing the same team over and over. Everything is magnified, and the other team is looking at your weaknesses through a microscope and finding them, and then you find out what you really have. I can't look at this series and say, well, it's on the coach. He's gone with the right goalie. He's stuck with Swayman. Swayman's been good. Still hasn't allowed, more than 2 goals in a game this year against the Maple Leafs. So I look at the overall roster. How many times with how many different coaches are we going to talk about the same things? Not finishing off an opponent, not playing well under pressure, not getting secondary scoring. How many times and how many years have we talked about these things, and they keep changing the coach, and these elements that hurt them don't change?
So to me, look, if you step back and looked at it, analytically on a piece of paper, the Bruins and Leafs 3-3, that makes perfect sense to me. That I think they're both the same quality of team. They're built differently, but they probably net out to the same kind of team. Good, not great. And so it should be 3-3, and like water seeks its level, as Chris says. But then when you actually watch how it goes down, so the Bruins are better, Chris, than one shot a period. You know what I mean?
Any hockey team is. Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay. So to me, the story is not that they're 3-3 with the Leafs or that they lost to the Leafs. They should lose to the Leafs 50% of the time because they're the same kind of team. Good, not great. It's how they look. And that goes beyond how they're assembled or what kind of team they are. That's like a different thing. And I definitely don't blame the coach for that, but he is a part of it. No?
I mean, how? Part of it, how? I mean, I think he's trying, and he's tried challenging them. I think that the message he gave last night certainly was a challenge, I think, to David Pastrnak, but I think there was another message there that sort of filtered out through Brad Marchand and some of the other leaders that was a calmer message. That was one of, well, hey, before the season started, if you told us we had a game 7 on home ice and this is where heroes are made and this is the opportunity. I think he's trying everything in his power to get these guys not to grip the stick so tightly, that they're getting splinters. Now, I know most of these sticks now are, composite, but you know what I'm talking about. So I think he's trying everything in his power. And I would point to him more if I hadn't seen this happen with the prior 2 coaches. And if the prior coach hadn't had this happen to him and then gone somewhere else and won with better players and better talent.
Oh, believe me, they never should have fired the former guy. So the room's soft. Like, that's the problem. Bruce Cassidy, coach, was too mean to them. And so they had to bring in someone with a softer touch. And that's not working either. So it's not the coaching. I don't think it's the coaching. I just don't absolve them, But they never should. Cassidy should have been the guy. But we know how this all works. What are you going to, trade out, fire the roster to get guys that can take hard coaching? Or are you going to do? It's easier to fire the coach and bring in someone that's more conducive to your best players.
Oh, yeah, the coach is going to get it. I mean, at the end of the day, the coach is going to get it. But they have bigger problems than that. I get that. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, you're absolutely right, Mazz, especially, and what's become one of the biggest problems in this series? One of the things that they got the most credit for and that the front office got the most credit for, which was replacing Krejci and Bergeron with Zacha and Charlie Coyle. And admittedly so, I was one of those people who said, they needed to go out and get some real centers in the offseason. And I was proven wrong through the regular season. And how many times did I have to hear that Zacha and Coyle compiled more points this year than Bergeron and Krejci did last year? I must have heard that a million times. What have they done in this series? They're both, 0-2 for 2 points, no goals. And last year they had 1 goal combined, which was Coyle. Coyle doesn't have a single point in 5-on-5 play. It's 2 power play assists. Zacha has no goals in his playoff career between the Bruins and New Jersey. That's 18 games, has not scored a goal. Where are these guys? And so this was supposed to be like the strength of your team, sort of up the middle and how you replace these guys. And doesn't it sort of feel like at the end of the day, again, they are who we thought they were?
They need to be better than this, though. Zacha absolutely needs to be included in the piling on. And so Boston Sports Inf had you just mentioned it, but there's a little bit more on it, Chris. So forwards through their first 18 career playoff games since tracked in 98-99, with 18 games played and over 300 minutes, 168 players qualify. Only 4 players had 0 goals. Zacha's one of those 4 players. The other 3 are stiffs you've never even heard of.
Right.
It's like he's got to do something.
He's been a 0. He's been a 0 in this series. And they've both been minus players, too, Coyle and Zacha. So if they're going to be 200-foot players, you got to at least shut people down at the other end, and they're not doing that either. In fact, that feels like the whole roster really now when you're talking about it. McAvoy, Zacha, Coyle, these are supposed to be 200-foot players, and they're all minus. Like, it's just not – I think it's the players. I do.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.